folks have been so patient. I'm sure you're tired sitting, so if you wanted to take a minute, just adjust your sit down a little bit. One of our speakers, Tex Cam, got called away on emergency to work, so he's sitting in Fort McMurray right now. One of the things that Tex was going to talk to, and I'll give you just an extremely abbreviated version, he's been on a special committee looking at ways that the Arabian Horse Association, North America-wide, might change what it does a little bit to attract more people and not lose as many people as we're losing. And it's not just the Arabian world that's been suffering a downsizing. The whole horse industry has been taking a real hit lately. If there's one bright spot in the quarter horse world, it's called Yellowstone. That has created a ton of business for the quarter horse world, just in the perception of, it's kind of replacing the old Roy Rogers Lone Ranger days that many of us used to watch. Anyway, what Tex has learned as he's traveled from one end of the continent to the other is our future in the horse industry is the grassroots. It's the people who are going to come in and, as Archie talked about in his presentation, get into a lesson program and have fun and get ignited. And with that comes a whole sense of different issues actually pop up. Parenting today is quite a bit different than it has been in the past. You have helicopter parenting, and I guess we've always had it, but today it's affecting all of our kids and our families in different ways. So we've got to be able to be prepared to deal with that segment of the community that's going to come in and maybe not be as comfortable with how we used to do things. Animal rights activists are stepping up time and time again. There's reports out of the United States that the U.S. Agriculture Association, this has got nothing to do with Trump, by the way, but they were actually looking involved in training people so that each and every horse activity that went on in the United States of America would be regulated by the Department of Agriculture in the U.S. And what they do is not far behind here. So those are different things, different challenges. And while it may not affect us as stable owners directly, I look at it, we are the keepers. We're looking after those horses that are out there performing in the breed shows. We're out there looking after those horses that are providing great recreational activities. We're going to be influenced by what's happening. So anything we can do as stable owners to help create interest in our industry, I think it behooves us to take a good look at doing it. And maybe it's a clip-clop program. Maybe it's just having an open house every once in a while. Visiting seniors' residences, inviting seniors to come out to your place. Anything we can do that just raises the visibility of our barns, of our stables, and the touch and feel thing, and just helping people experience the horse industry as a possibility for their recreational activity. Again, we are the keepers, and we are the helpers, so we're involved right up to our necks. So that's just a brief rundown of what Tex was going to talk to you about. I'm very excited to introduce Deb Carroll to you. Deb, West Wind Veterinary Hospital, and they're involved in a changing world too. And Deb's going to share a little bit for you, so we have a better understanding of what these guys are up against and where they're going. And I'm not going to talk any more about potentially ruining the presentation.
I like that. I get to sit. All right. I would love to. Thank you for me. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Just nod it.
There is a clicker.
Oh, I don't know. Is it just gonna be on here? Can I just try? here mostly on behalf of the veterinary profession, not on behalf of my practice. I have been in this area for over 35 years in the veterinary industry. I started volunteering for some people's husbands who were veterinarians back in the day, and have progressed through working at practices, and I've managed practices now for the last 25 years. Today, I think I have two goals. I'm very impressed with what's going on today, and I almost feel a little bit guilty coming with my message, because you guys all live the same life, so you'll figure it out here. But first, my first goal would be to learn what stable owners and the horse people in the area expect from their veterinarian. So I would really like some feedback on that. Nope. And then second, to show some data that outlines the current state of and the future of veterinary medicine. So hopefully the whole outcome will be a better understanding between the groups, and we can improve our veterinary client relationships going forward. Okay, so I just want to ask the question, and I have to have a pen in my pocket, or maybe my friend can really write them all. No, I can write them all down, but anyways.
Okay.
What do you want? I'm going to start with a question that I hope you'll share your opinion on, and then I'll share the data that's unique to equine veterinary medicine, and then we're going to return to that question and see if we can work some things out together. Okay. Yep. So what would you like your veterinary team to do for you, for your horse, or your business? And if this is too broad, I did ask one of the stable owners if he could get us started, if you guys. Okay, go ahead. Do we need that? Do you want the mic? I can repeat it too, for the recording purposes.
I can talk loud. The area, I mean, besides, taking care of the animals, the obvious things, the area that I really appreciate is help on herd health and backing up the stable owner on the herd health. That's always been a problem, and it's one area that I'm very, very strict on at our barn, is we do our vaccinations at a certain time of year, we do our worming at a certain time of year. I don't care who your vet is, if you want to bring somebody in because your horse is lame, but you use our vet and you follow our protocols. And I need a veterinarian who will back me up on that. So that's something I really appreciate them doing. I had tried it a little bit looser method, found out that people lie about actually vaccinating their horses, actually worming. So my system probably sounds like I'm dealing with children, but you're welcome to worm your horse yourself, but you put the box and the syringe with the horse's name on it in a box after you've done it. And then I check them off and I throw them out. And then the vaccination has to be done by our veterinarian. We don't allow anybody except a veterinarian who happened to have been boarding at our place to vaccinate their own.
Okay. I think that's a very reasonable want from a veterinarian. Anybody else got anything? Yes. Gary.
As someone with a bunch of lesson horses, I would like for the veterinary to try to keep it somewhat reasonable to expenses when it's stuff that the stable owners can do themselves and work more productively with the stable owners. If I know that this horse has been on Previcox for the last 2 years and I need more Previcox, I should be able to just get more Previcox without having to trailer said horse to the vet clinic and have, a $1,000 vet bill for something that should cost me $160.
Okay.
And that seems to be a bigger issue now than ever before. And not just with my stable, but I have found that acreage owners in the area now, they cannot afford to have a $2,500 vet bill for a couple of stitches. So now they're coming to me, wanting me to solve their problems, especially if it's a $1,000 horse. And I feel that over the last few years, with some veterinarians closing down and things changing, that the veterinary industry is kind of pricing people completely out of horse ownership.
Okay. Thank you for that feedback.
still want you to be able to eat though. So
Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah,
get
it's
to that.
fine.
We're gonna get to that. They've also got everything.
You can give them food when they come.
I have
We'll
been
just
baking
barter.
chickens. It's a thing.
Hi. We really appreciate that our vets are on top of best practices as those change. And that they educate us throughout a visit or after a visit. So it's not just that they come and they tip the problem, but they also, give education. And something I personally have enjoyed, and I think helps to build that rapport that you're looking for between owners and vets, is that they talk about things like vet mental health and how the industry is changing, that sort of thing, on their social media, so that there's a better understanding. But yeah, in particular, the best practices and education.
Okay, thank you. Good job. Divine and conquer.
This is a kudo for you, Deb, and Westwind. My name's Georgina, and I've been using Westwind for a long time. And one of the things some of you may not know is that if you have a horse that needs some blood taken, for example, a vet tech can do it. I had a vet tech to come to my place to take some blood because I was looking at is it Cushing's or metabolic, and it was metabolic. And I just want to say that when you have a good relationship with your veterinary clinic, people get to know you, and they get to know that you always have your horse's best interest at heart. And I just want to say to you, Deb, it's not a question, it's just that I'm very impressed with the way I've been treated for my dogs and for my horses, and that you're very valued to me and to the people that are at my barn. I just wanted this opportunity to say this publicly. Thank you.
Oh, that's
Well,
good.
thank you, Georgina. Okay, we could open up the floor and let you all give kudos to your vets, because I bet you all have a story like that. So and there's nothing terribly unique about my practice or me. I think all veterinarians are in this business for the same reason, and it's certainly not to make money, despite what it might look like sometimes.
Yeah, that's right.
Anything else that anybody wants to add out? But let's pop up just the things I got from another stable owner as well. So they said they would like a veterinarian to be able to come to the farm 24/7. They would like us to advise of the most practical and cost-effective recommendations, as someone else has mentioned. Provide the basic medications. Again, that's the Prevocox scenario. And advise of new advances in vet med. So I guess that is our job. We're lifelong learners, and it absolutely is our job. Communicate health risks in the area. So,
Yes.
yeah, we can help with that too. Advise on things like the best first aid kit for a stable owner as opposed to the best first aid kit for just a single horse owner. Advise on cost-effective herd health. And keep stable owners aware of their client horse treatments, so that as a stable owner, you're not stuck not knowing what went on and what needs to be done. So those kind of things came up. And so I'm not actually going to answer any of those right now, because that would be too nice. I think what I'd like to do first is just look at some current data and studies regarding the veterinary medicine sustainability, and then we'll go back to that, okay? So this Malatest company compiled information from a survey of veterinary professionals in Alberta in 2021. And it was prepared for the Alberta Vet Med Association and the Alberta Vet Tech Association. And it was sponsored by the Canadian government and the Alberta government. So you had a lot of interest in this study. The data predict a workforce shortage in Alberta of 5,000 RVTs and 4,000 veterinarians by 2040. So this is 2021 data. So factors contributing to this shortage of veterinary professionals is a low number of seats for students. So and I apologize for not having the numbers for the RVTs, but the DVMs, there are 40 seats for veterinary students in the province of Alberta. And we'll get to how this impacts equine too. There's a retiring workforce. Low recruitment rates because of the lifestyle and wages, and particulars compared to human medicine. So when a young person is trying to choose a career in a medical field, they're not as likely to pick a low-paying job with poor life-work balance. Now that's where I felt really guilty, because I was listening to all your stories earlier, and everybody's like 24/7, 365, and I'm like, I don't want that anymore. You know, and I didn't. It's hard to say that in front of a group of people that work as hard as animal caregivers work. Any vets and RVTs that leave practicing early, so early in their careers, they always state the same things: financial pressures and burnout. And they choose, anybody that's coming into the practice is now choosing to work shorter weeks and part-time, anything to improve that work-life balance. So these are big things, big changes for our industry. Now, that was a 2021 study, as I said, and the changes have been made, but they're still not going to be adequate. They've increased the seats from 40 to 100 starting this year at UCBM, so there will be more veterinarians. They're streamlining foreign vets licensures, or trying to. Trying to streamline a foreign vet's licensure procedure is very difficult because they come from such varied backgrounds, and we have to have assurance that the people who are registered veterinarians in our country are capable and knowledgeable to the level that the Canadian standard expects. So, and then the ABVMA is trying to help too, the same way our Stable Owners Association is trying to help. They're trying to raise awareness, so they did start a public campaign trying to explain the value of veterinary care and trying to enhance the financial sustainability of vet practices, which are small businesses, just like yours, for the most part. Now, some of us on Marketplace are not all small businesses. That's a different story. Okay, so we don't have any equine-specific data for Alberta. All that was just general veterinarians in Alberta. But the AAP, which is the American Association of Equine Practitioners in the United States, is the voice for equine veterinarians. So, of all vets that go to vet school, 1.3% go into equine practice, straight out of vet school. Another 4.5 pursue further training as an intern, and within 5 years of graduating, 50% of them go somewhere else and do something else. They all state the same thing. They all state burnout and no work-life balance and financial stresses. So that's just where we're at in this profession. So even though you guys can work 365, the veterinarians that are up and coming cannot, will not, and for good reason. Nobody should do it. That's why you have to have some TAs around to take some of the weight away. So at AAP is involved with a couple of publications, the EVJ, which is Equine Vet Journal. They surveyed young vets that had left the industry within 5 years, and there they are, all over again. And then Equimanagement, which is another AAP publication just this winter, asked, so that they were asking the question because of a commission that had been established, and they asked veterinarians what they felt was most important to help with recruiting and retraining our next group of veterinarians. And overall, we wanted decreased emergency shifts, healthier practice cultures, increased compensation, flexible work schedules, shortened work weeks, and better mentoring. Go ahead. So they formed that AEP formed a Commission on Equine Veterinary Sustainability. You can go there if you want. I'll give anybody the link if they want it, or you can just keep that AEP in mind because you actually want to know what the AEP has to say, because as Gary mentioned earlier, what happens in the States is coming to Canada. We're just a little bit behind. So that commission, they looked at the 5 pillars: compensation, emergency coverage, internships, practice culture, and students. And their goal was just to help recruit and retrain equine veterinarians. And as they went and looked at these things, they started with compensation. And equine veterinarians, and this is I can get you actual numbers if you would like them. their wages are lower when you compare them to small animal veterinarians, and most certainly when you compare them to small animal emergency veterinarians, despite the lifestyle. Wages are also much lower than any human medicine of comparable education. Okay? High student debt. In Alberta, 2023, the data from the Alberta Vet Med Association, most veterinarians are graduating with over $250,000 in debt for student loans to get through that education. Okay? And then in the horse industry, there's a historic expectation of fees, a lack of insurance for large animal medical procedures, high cost of insurance premiums when there is insurance in place for surgical procedures, high cost of technology, higher cost of staffing, and then a dilution of care with laypersons. And in our region, our veterinarians travel a lot. That's all unbillable time. And it's not, that's just a fact. It's just how far apart everybody is. So what you guys might see as this all comes to a head, in however many years it's gonna take to come to a head, you might see your veterinary practices asking you to schedule regional days. So all you folks in the west, please let us see you on Tuesday. All you folks in the north, please let us see you on Wednesday. And that's just to increase our efficiency so that our drive time is minimized. You might see increased fees to allow that small business to be sustainable. They have all the economic pressures of every other small business. You will, and I probably already have seen haul-in requests to optimize staffing and improve efficiency in the veterinary practice. And almost for sure you've been asked for payment at time of service now, because a vet clinic can't afford to maintain that kind of inventory. Emergency coverage is the next thing that I think may change in the next few years in our region. It's a very common stressor for equine practitioners, and as we are trying to figure out how to make it work, a whole bunch of different scenarios have come forth. The first one would be, oh, you hit two. I think you hit two. I made a mistake. Just try one. Oh, you didn't. Okay, so you might see emergency cooperatives between local vets. So you might find that when you call your veterinarian with an emergency, on Monday you might see a veterinarian from practice A. On Tuesday you might see a veterinarian from practice B. On Thursday it'll be practice C, and you're not going to have a choice. And that's a hard thing for some people, especially in the horse industry. Absolutely commonplace in the small animal industry. But we might have to get to that stage. And to be fair, as a total disclosure, the equine vets in our areas have got together a few times to talk about it to see if it's something that we need yet. And we don't feel we're in that position yet. So we're not there yet, but these are the things that absolutely are coming out in the States in their practices. Client-only emergency service. You might find a practice, if you are not an existing client, and every practice is going to define that slightly differently, they are not going to offer you emergency coverage. And it's not because they don't love you, it's not because they don't love your horse, it's not because they're terrible people, it's because they are so busy with the clients that they have, they cannot physically accommodate you. Because I guarantee there's not a vet in the world that wouldn't come if they could. Okay. And then you might see a for-fee teletriage service. This is already a business model in Alberta. A company offers to answer the phones after hours, and they answer them with registered veterinary technologists, and that technologist helps the person who's calling to make a decision as to whether this is truly emergent or if this is something that could wait for tomorrow. And that is for fee because as a horse owner, they ask you to sign up for this. So you sign up in advance, or you sign up at the time of your emergency. I would recommend in advance, it's a lot faster. When you're, in the stress of having a problem. And then you pay a fee, and then they'll help you when you have a problem, help you triage it and see where to go. No, but I don't think any of the vet clinics are in our area are using it, certainly not the equine ones. But it could come, so just things that might happen as we adjust to the new needs of the industry. Haul-in only emergency coverage, we did that. Yep. Emergency only practices, this is what I'm dreaming of. I'm really hoping some little group of people wants to only do emergency medicine and just send everything that's emergent to that group of people all the time, and everybody else can do the daytime stuff. And then that leaves us with people who can actually accommodate that kind of an appointment after hours, joyfully, gleefully, not missing out on their child's hockey game. We're not supposed to talk hockey, but. And then you've already seen the payment and time of service thing. So then the AEP in this little commission also is offering practice owners and managers a lot of extra information so that they can optimize their practices, so that veterinarians and soon-to-be veterinarians want to be in the industry. So what horse owners can do, when we drag 16 students and an intern out, just tolerate us, please. And just let us participate in practice to the best of their ability too. And just thank you for being here and being aware of the pressures that are on veterinarians too. Okay. So then the AVMA, which is the American Vet Med Association, which is probably, it's not, and this is all animals, this is all species. They actually put out a little agreement in cooperation with that American Association of Equine Practitioners. I have copies of this if you guys want it, and I can email it to you if you want it. So you don't have to get too hung up on it, but it's just, as a client, what you should expect, and in return, we ask that. So when I was reading through, we can go through each of these if you want, but the bottom line is, this is just a great tool that I think you should talk with your veterinarian about, because then you know exactly why. So go ahead. I just made it a little bit bigger for a few of them, right? So I think on this page it was, except in certain cases your preferred veterinarian may not be available, and understand that anybody we would trust to see your horse is qualified to do that for you. Okay? Go ahead. And then on this one, this one made me laugh, because on the third one down it says, be seen on time or be notified of any delay, knowing that life-threatening illnesses or injuries will be prioritized over routine appointments. I think that's ridiculous, you'd have to say that out loud to people. We all know what that's like. But then on the other side, this is what vets complain about on social media all the time. Be ready with your horse, appropriately restrained, and call ahead if you're going to be late or need to reschedule or cancel. Mostly it's because we gotta go catch them, that's when they get. But that's anxiety. Okay. Yeah, that's what I mean, that was a both ways one. That's what made me laugh, yeah. And then the bottom one, we need to arrive with a properly equipped vehicle, stocked to treat most issues that your horse can have. So I think maybe that one hit home for me, because I am notorious for not being able to get back to restock my truck when I get to the last appointment of the day. I'm like, I don't have any more puke. Right? Because you have to give us a bit of slack on that one too. And then their answer was, provide us with a safe working area, which most of the stables do, right? That's not a problem for stables, that's more of an acreage owner problem. And understand that hauling emergencies is going to be a thing for some practices. Okay. And then I think that's it. Oh, no, actually, let's stop on this one too. So medical records is another thing. So medical records, when we're, like, if practice A is gonna see you on Monday and then you have to refer back to your regular veterinarian. Most of our practices in this region now use cloud-based medical records, so we can share that information easily. That's not a part of, it's not a problem. And so we will be working to make sure that clients have access to the medical records all the time and can share them in a timely fashion with a veterinarian that would attend. Okay. So how can we support you? So this is back to that list. How can we support you? Your little list. The herd health thing is easy, right? It's herd health, that you just need to have that discussion with your veterinarian. Cost effective? Yeah. Isn't that the magic of the world? Yeah.
As the world changes, letting us know if you guys are taking a break for your health, so we know that we're not trying to phone you and wait for that phone call back, and then already you have it that, hey, you need to refer to West Windsor or Delaney or whoever that is that's picking up for you, and maybe letting your whole client base know that, hey, I'm gone, there's gonna be no emergency services available, and then us as owners communicating that to our staff, so on the other side of that, so they know that, hey, if anything happens on weekend C, we're calling Deb, we're not calling somewhere else.
Yeah, I do understand that that's a problem, particularly for single practitioners. in group practices, that's usually not a problem, because you call the practice number and you get the group, right? But for a single practitioner, that is a big concern, and I'll share that with my colleagues that are single practitioners, yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna follow up with, you know, when we have a force and something bad happens, I really believe that, like she was explaining, the horse is under a treatment, it's under a remedy. The veterinarian has been involved for quite some time. So then if I need a refill or I want something like that, I just get furious with getting gouged with, once again, an examination or being charged for having to pick up extra medications. And just wondering, when does a patient, you know, as soon as you walk off the land, is that patient's that problem, that patient is no longer, it would start a new issue just because you walked off the land or vets walked off the land? That means to say, if I had to call you for some kind of thing, it would start all over again, and so would my bill. And, you know, like I said, if the animal's under this treatment, at least be the patient for at least up to about 90 days. And the other thing, I don't understand if veterinarians are struggling so badly and the numbers are falling apart, then why take the very means off the shelves that we can help our animals with?
Sorry, take what off the shelves?
Like their antibiotics and stuff.
Oh, yeah, so these things, okay, so if I missed something, please make me go back to it. The taking antibiotics off the shelf and limiting access is not a veterinarian mandated thing. That's a federal government mandated thing. And it's based on environmental sustainability. There has to be responsible antimicrobial stewardship, and it is not achieved when there isn't a good reason to use antibiotics.
Isn't that why we have PID numbers, so people can keep track of who we are, how many hours we have, what we have?
It absolutely is part of that program.
Either or. So that should fall under Carroll when we start worrying about antibiotics and stuff like that. So maybe the PID number could explain that we're stable people, we have horses, and they're injured, so we need antibiotics, and maybe we'll be allowed to buy antibiotics just to cure maybe an infection in the leg, rather than paying $3,000 for a vet to come and look at what, you know, a gouge in the leg, they got infected.
Yeah, so a million things. Antibiotic stewardship is not species specific. It is across all medical fields, human, everything. And it has changed so much in the last 10 years that if your knowledge as a stable owner came from 10 years ago, it is outdated. There are many, many things that we used to treat with antibiotics we no longer treat with antibiotics. So this is that sort of being on the cusp of veterinary medicine knowledge that puts a veterinarian at an advantage over someone who's not in that field, who is making a recommendation for an animal based on previous history or previous experience. The antimicrobial stewardship thing is a whole other conversation I'd be happy to do a talk on one day, but that is sort of not the scope of today. And then your other comment is a legality issue as well. The veterinarian must have done a physical exam and have a valid client-patient relationship within 1 year in order to be able to prescribe medications without another exam. So there's a legal recommendation. And so if I know your horses from vaccinations, deworming, dental care, routine maintenance kind of things, and I know you and your skill level and your knowledge level, then as a veterinarian, I can dispense a drug for a laceration. But what if that laceration didn't need antibiotics? So now I got double-barreled. So a veterinarian that is treating a horse for a current condition absolutely can refill without another examination, unless there is something happening that they believe there's been a change in the condition and there needs to be a modification in the treatment process. So if it's just straight ahead, we're doing TMS until it heals, they will give you TMS. Yeah. If TMS doesn't work within 14 days, we need to back up, do a culture and sensitivity, repeat that culture and sensitivity because now we've been on antibiotics for a little while, and perhaps change the course of what we're doing, then of course they need to see you again. Yeah.
Did you say that there's a quota, an admissions quota on, in the universities on veterinarians entering the program? And also, would it help increase the number of available veterinarians if more universities offered the veterinarian program?
Yes, to both questions. Yes, there are limited seats available in Alberta. As an Alberta resident, your choice at this point in time is the University of Calgary, and they currently have 40 seats. Their next class entering in 2025 will have 100 seats, and they have invested millions and millions and millions in infrastructure to accommodate those extra seats. So if we think it cost us $65 million to build the Point, imagine a vet clinic big enough to house, or a vet learning establishment to house 1,400 students. So yes, more, and if there were more universities as well, it would be helpful. And it's the same thing, it's just money, it's just a money game because it's so expensive to make a physical facility that can handle it, to hire all the professionals that are gonna teach the courses and actually administer it. So, yeah. So right now, the Alberta government is supporting those 100 seats in Calgary. There's no look for another school at this junction.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering with the, first of all, I have a question of,
Let's use the mic.
how much influence do the vets on the ground have over the decisions with Alberta Veterinary Medical Association?
Okay, there's nobody here from the ABVMA. As much as they want to have is the bottom line. So as a practicing veterinarian, the people who work at the ABVMA and volunteer at the ABVMA, because there are a lot of volunteer veterinarians in that capacity as well, do their very, very best to make sure that the needs are being met. Do they always, I don't always agree with everything that goes down. I'm sure that never happens in any field. But if I wanted to, I could be involved in every decision, for sure. So yes, I think the differentiation that we need to make, that I'm not sure if it's a nuance or not, but the Alberta Vet Med Association has no say on antibacterial or antibiotic stewardship. They have no say on other things that we've discussed. That's not a part of the ABVMA's mandate.
Hopefully one will cooperate. So with that, do you know if there is talks of broadening scope, say, for vet techs and such? Like they're just supposed to be doing with the human side here in Alberta, where, they're increasing nurse practitioners, they're giving pharmacists broader scope to prescribe. Do you think that's gonna happen? Because
Yes.
the 1 year thing isn't turning out to be very practical, especially when there's a shortage of veterinarians. Having to see a vet every year for a horse, a 30-year-old horse that has Cushing's, just to get his Cushing's medication I think it's becoming impractical for both sides.
Okay, and I can take that feedback back to the ABVMA and see if they can make any changes to that legislation. It's just, that's why. We're not being terrible veterinarians just trying to soak your last 50 bucks out of your pocket. It's really not our goal. We're just trying to maintain our licenses so we can continue to help the animals.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah, so I do, yes, there's already a drive, as Georgie alluded to. Our technicians, our registered animal health technologists are already doing some appointments. They're already filling in the gaps where we need them to and where their training can take them. There is, in the States, Colorado recently passed a mid-level practitioner's law. They're gonna have a 4-year university degree practitioner that's going to be allowed to practice veterinary medicine without any practical training. Yeah, so they're going to be allowed to spay your dog despite never being allowed to spay a dog. Yeah. Yeah. So there's that. Okay, so let's see what else I did here. Would you guys like to see in-clinic seminars? Just keep clicking away here.
Yes.
Oh, too many clickers. Let us know, like, and I would hope that part of the point can be the veterinary practices, maybe in cooperation with groups such as this, they could have speakers come in and help disseminate information. So anything you guys want your vets to tell you about, please let them know. Because I know, as a practice owner, I sit in my office and I'm like, what could I do to make a difference? I'm like, well, I can have a seminar. Well, the same 20 people showed up as showed up last year, and I'm like, well, it didn't really help any, so.
I think that having virtual seminars that are recorded online as well, I often can't come to things at certain times, but I can certainly watch it afterwards as on my phone in bed, something like that.
Thank you.
That's a good point too, and I think that's a big one when I'm talking to our clients, and you brought up disseminating information. On the topic of disseminating information, having a client understand the difference between anecdotal and scientific evidence. And I mean, constantly people are coming in, look what new product I bought. How much did you pay for that? Oh my goodness. No, it works, I swear. My best friend told me. Like I don't want to see amateurs spend money on needless things. And I don't want to hurt their feelings, but I want to provide them with the best information. And you guys are the best people to provide that, because I always say, I'm not a vet, please talk to the vet. So open communication like that, and maybe virtual seminars where what works, what has evidence of working, and what is maybe something you take yourself out for lunch and instead.
Yes.
Your first day off, we want to know.
Okay. So, I'd be happy to email you a first aid kit list any day of the week. Look
We
me up.
provide
I'm pretty
equine
easy to
first
find.
aid at our barn if you'd like to come take the course.
There you go. Yeah. Oh, right in the middle.
I was just wondering, I had a sister that took nursing by apprenticeship. It was done here in Alberta in the 60s. Could there be more apprenticeship direction to the veterinarian? Meaning that she got out of nursing with zero cost to student. She worked about, at that time, wages were different. So she was paid somewhere between $30 to $40, I forget what it was, per. She worked on the wards and got her teaching included. So you remove the $250,000, you have a trained on the ground vet when they finish, and you have somebody that actually helps assist them along the way.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, and that is absolutely how nursing used to be. And in the early days of veterinary medicine, it's also how veterinary medicine was. In our current world, technology changes so fast. There is an information explosion. There is no way to keep up to it unless you have an extremely solid scientific background. So, and you cannot get an extremely solid scientific background on the job. You have to have taken all the baseline courses and be able to understand something from a physiologic, anatomic perspective before you could make an appropriate decision for things going forward. So I think 70 years ago, I'm gonna just guess, 60, 70 years ago, that was absolutely the way most professions worked. It can't work now, and like that.
I guess I disagree with you.
For a veterinarian, I don't think it can work now, but the mid-level practitioner thing, or utilizing your technicians, your RVTs, absolutely on-the-job training will do it. And that's why I think in veterinary medicine, you'll see more technicians doing more and more things. but somewhere there has to be the DVM with the training. So like, and if you think I'm standing here blowing my own horn, I'm just gonna back up one step. I am already too old to be that person, because the education I received 40 years ago, it doesn't compete with the education that the younger vets are getting now. It can't. I didn't know how to run an ultrasound machine because there were none. So, you know, like, it's just, it's not the same anymore.
But wouldn't that be handled in ongoing training?
No, it can't, well, sure, handling an ultrasound machine, anybody can learn that, absolutely. It's the background medical knowledge that you can't pick up on the-job training.
Yeah, don't that they enforce you to have insurances, different insurances, right? As a vet, you have to have different insurances, and you have to be members of certain things, and there's all sorts of things, and they don't accept you unless you've actually gone through the board, you know, and got diplomas. So, you know, it's not by just apprenticing anymore.
No, it's not.
That's right.
Can we get the mic down to here? And then I think, yep. Seat's getting warm.
Just going back to how can your veterinarian support you? Just like, I love the idea of seminars and all that you have listed. Another thing that I have appreciated, and I've been really lucky, I guess, because every vet I've dealt with, and I've had horses for a very long time, has been great in terms of supporting me and being there when I need them and everything. One thing that I really, really have liked is where I can get, I'm an information junkie, I love getting more information, and where I can get, here's more where you could go read up if you want to know more about what we're talking about. I love that. Here's a link. Just send me a link.
Yeah, they're right there.
Thank you,
There you
thank you.
And of course, anybody who's had horses for any amount of time, you end up going through some weird stuff. No matter what, you got some weird stuff. I'm happy to be sent to do more research so I can understand better.
Okay, thank you, that's good feedback too. So we can change our social media postings. My goodness, Cat's Talk is amazing. We can change our social media approach a little bit so that maybe we can use some of these things. So the things to take home right now, Alberta Animal Health Source website, they have white papers on that website. And the Equine Disease Communication Center, EDCC, there's an app for the EDCC. And that is where you're gonna find what's going on in your neighborhood. So it's US and Canada, and then you can go to the filters, pick the filter that says Canada. If you wanna narrow it really down, you can pick Alberta, and they will tell you everything that goes on in Alberta. Everything that needs to be reported will be on there, and you can find it, and you should have it on. You can even set it so it alerts you when there's an EIA case in Alberta. So those would be the two places that are super easy to go to. That American Association of Equine Practitioners, there are a ton of educational articles on there. To be honest, I go on as a member, so it's a little bit harder for me to know what's on there from the public perspective. But start there and see what you find, and always ask your vet for a reference as to where to go for more information on any given topic.
Hi, so back on the topic of communication skills with your vet. Firstly, with our veterinarian, she allows, like, for example, a grade. Like, for example, determining what's an emergency and what's not an emergency. So our vet was really good about giving us her personal contact information, help us determine, like, for our animals, for pictures, videos, and media, so she can see what we're seeing. I put a question, would it be possible for veterinarians to supply a text number or a call, like a way to send videos of their animal to show what they're experiencing? So the veterinarian can help them either determine themselves, like you said, if it's an actual emergency or if Billy just tripped over a rock and it's a little tender
Yes.
tripping over the rock.
That's a very good idea, and our practice absolutely has that ability. You can text us pictures, videos, and email whenever you want. I think that the time when it's not available is after hours. because we don't have anybody manning that text machine. But yes, absolutely, you can text anything, anytime, and we do get back to you.
So there's the question of how you, that can support you. But there's also the point that you need to support your vet. So, like, don't wait till the last minute to call them. Don't wait till the horse has been sick for 10 hours and okay, now it's 9 o'clock at night and I think I better call the vet. You know, make those determinations a little quicker. Listen to what they tell you, do what they tell you, and give them as much consideration as you can as well.
Yes, thank you, I appreciate that. And that is part of what's on this veterinarian agreement for effective equine care. I made a hot 10 copies. I had no idea how big attendance is gonna be here today. But I also have a little sign-up sheet, so if you wanna put your name and email address on it, I'll absolutely send you one. And if you have any other requests, like you want the link to the EDCC or anything, you can put it on there and I'll send it to you.
Do you want us to make more copies?
We can run some off.
If everybody wants one.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Give it to me and I'll run it up right now.
Thanks, Cory.
Thank you.
Yeah.